Hey everyone, this is James from TDB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today I am going to be talking about this Yin Banzhang from Chensheng Hao, and also just simply the context of having tea. This is not the first time I've had this tea. I had this tea once, one other time, and it was on another episode. In that episode, I was comparing this tea versus the much higher ticket item from Chensheng Hao, the 2022 Lao Banzhang that they have. That's about $1,000 cake versus this, which is about $140 cake. So really kind of comparing the different grades, the different levels. And so when you do that sort of comparison, there are certain takeaways that you're going to have versus if you have that tea in closer to kind of a vacuum context, which is what we're going for this time around. So what takeaways did I have when I compared it with the higher ticket Lao Banzhang from 2022? Well, really, I could tell that the higher ticket item, the 2022 Lao Banzhang, was, quite a bit better. You could tell that there was a difference. There's a difference in kind of the grade of those teas. I could also sort of tell that they both kind of have the same profile. Is one of those sessions, if you watch that one, you'll realize that like the first steep or so, I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. And then you compare it with the the better tea, and you're like, oh, okay. Now this tea is making that one look bad. And that's really what you could get, is you could get a little bit more of a diminished view of a certain tea just because you're comparing it so closely, even if that tea could be pretty good. If you're comparing a great tea versus a really, really great tea, you might think that great tea is a little bit less great. But that tea in a different context, you could, if you like, for instance, compare that great tea versus a good tea, that great tea might seem even better than it was there. So really the context, I want to just hammer home that point, that the context really can impact your perceptions of the tea, even without all the different biases or what you ate beforehand going through your head. One context that I did want to highlight is just like if I really want to enjoy a tea, I might actually have it with someone like Denny. Denny doesn't really own anything for Pu'er. His stash is distinctly unimpressive. He doesn't necessarily have it a ton besides ripe outside of the episodes, but I really like drinking with him, and I think he has, he has enough experience and he has good taste. He's not a complete novice when it comes to Pu'er too. So yeah, let's get into this tea. As I said before, I don't have too many takeaways, but I am very curious to have it just on its own, and I have not had it since. And this is not the sort of tea I'm going to be drinking regularly, so it's probably going to be stashed away kind of for the long term after this session. So let's get into the tea. Okay, so we are going to have steep number 1. I did just rinse this ahead of time off camera using about 4.3 grams, 70 milliliters or so. So, yeah, having some young tea today. Floral sweet aroma coming off that. We're just going to make a couple of these. I will say that the leaves are, medium small. Pretty, not super compressed or anything like that, so pretty easy to pick off. Sugar cane, little nuttiness coming into that, so pretty standard Yinxiang aromas coming off of it. Good body, nice oiliness to it. Nutty, not overbearing at all, actually. These Chensheng Hao teas, I find, split the difference a little bit between like being strong teas, but also they're fairly palatable as far as drinking now. They're not terribly bitter or anything like that, but they still do kind of pack what the image of Banzhang and Lao Banzhang have of just being like strong, punchy teas that should age. Nice, good mouthfeel, good texture to it. Just kind of solid all around. Gonna have steep number 2 here. Well, let's see how that lingers in the mouth for just a little bit. Yeah, it's a nice sweetness. I'd say this sugar cane was almost a little bit veering towards kind of this brown sugariness, a little bit of that kind of like slightly gritty texture to it too, not in a bad way. Yeah, gonna reboil this water, make sure we keep that nice and hot. Cheers. Sugarcane, yeah, floral, still pretty similar to steep 1. Yeah, nice, not bad. Yeah, nutty, very drinkable actually right now. I think this is the sort of tea that I will like and Denny would really like. So I do think it's probably one that's maybe geared a little bit more towards his preferences. So let's give this just a little bit longer to hang out, see if we can get a little bit of punch. I would say actually this is like definitely a little bit less punchy than I would expect so far. Yeah, it doesn't have a strong bitterness yet, that's for sure. But we will find that on this tea, I'm pretty sure, with the reboiled water and just giving a little bit of a push there. Maybe 15 seconds is what I would guess that was about. Getting a little bit stronger into florals as far as the aromatics go. And you can just tell that this color is a little bit thicker. Yeah, a little bit more of that dense yellow. Cheers. Still not too bitter. Yeah, not bitter at all, actually. So that's interesting. This is tea I would have expected to be a little stronger in terms of punchiness. I will say that the sweetness is disappearing with this slightly longer steep. I did probably underleaf a little bit. Maybe I should have gone a little bit closer to 5 grams. And I can hear my daughter waking up, so I need to wrap up this session. So let's do one more while she sits contentedly in bed. So if you hear some strange baby sounds, that is what's going on in the background. I'm trying to film this while she's napping, and her nap appears to be on the short side of things. It's nice. It's pretty palatable. In fact, I kind of wish this was punchier. Yeah, it's nice to drink now. Interesting to see how this would age for sure. I don't detect any honginess or anything like that to it, but it does kind of bring out a nice sweetness and floralness to it. So, didn't steep that quite as long as steep 3, but sometimes these teas just need a little bit longer to open up. Nice kind of herbalness, a little bit of that kind of syrup thickness on the mouthfeel. Okay. A little more bitter now. Yeah, and the last thing I want to make sure I do is see how it's lingering in my mouth. So far, it's been pretty sweet in terms of the lingering aftertaste in the mouth. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I would say, I'm questioning, I feel like this profile could be a little more bitter, and that's really what I would kind of hope it'd be a little bit more in that vein. So that's probably my main takeaway from here. It's actually probably quite a bit more pleasant than I thought it would be to drink now. And it does have kind of the basics of that profile. It's just a little bit less sharp than maybe I would have anticipated if you just asked me to kind of describe what a 1-year-old Banzhang tea would taste like. Okay, well, I think that just about wraps up this In-Betweenisode. I will be putting this away, and perhaps we will revisit it in 5 or 6 years, and we will see how it is doing. I think a lot of those aromatics and things like that are pleasant now are definitely going to go away at a certain point. Whether it develops kind of like the more interesting secondary characteristics to age well, we'll see. I think it's somewhat promising, but yeah, we'll see. Because not as bitter or as astringent as I would have been anticipated. Getting a little bit of it now. Yeah, little sour, little astringent, but not heavy by any means. Okay, so that just about wraps up this In-Between-isode. I need to go pick up my daughter from her nap. So thank you all for tuning in. I'll see y'all next time. Cheers.